All right. Good morning, everybody. This is the sewing machine, Sears Kenmore, that I was looking at the other day, which I've gotten out of the garbage. Checked to make sure that the motor turned and the machine is loose here. So I'm going to just give it a little tune-up and get it into a decent shape first, mechanically. And get a picture of the serial number and model tag here. So that it'll stitch a bit, and once I get it stitching okay, we'll see about what to do with the case here. So, first things first, give it a little turn here. It's actually not bad. The big thing is that this selector knob is completely loose, so I think that's a stitch selector. This is the length and the reversing. The feed dog control, the bobbin winder, and this has clearly been in wet storage because rusty. I'm not actually sure what this knob does, so when I take it off we're going to find out together. But it looks like that needs to come off to get the top section here open. Once this top section is open, probably be able to look and see what is going on with this selector knob and why it doesn't do anything. Oh, maybe that's the trick here. This slide wide is WN, maybe that's wide narrow. I don't have a manual for this, so alright. Alright, no idea what that does, because this knob locks this, and this definitely, yeah, this definitely adjusts the feed dogs for stitch length. So alright, well, first things first, we're going to get the top off and take a look in there to see what this knob is up to. I used to do sewing machine repair at a Salvation Army, so I did all kinds of stuff. Sears Kenmore is a pretty generic Japanese machine, except for they typically have a, this one isn't too bad. Some of the late 70s machines have really elaborate threading paths on them, but this one seems to be a pretty standard one. So, I actually watch a channel, AndyTube. He's been not as active recently due to health issues, but he does singers exclusively. So if you've got a singer and you want really detailed repair information and repair and restoration, this machine, I don't know how deep I'm going to go with it. Like I said, my main goal is to get it cleaned up and stitching again. This is going to take some serious work, it looks like, but I need to throw all these parts in that container to keep them safe for now. And turn this around, and Alright, there is a slotted screw holding this knob on, and there we go. There we go. It looks like there's a flat on there, so I'll be able to get it back in position, no problem. And now it looks like that is not in the way. That's okay. This machine is broadly very similar to all of the late 60s Japanese-made sewing machines that used to flood that flooded the American market. So it's got a lot of recognizable parts from a machine made in Japan. These top screws here have a hold down, but also they've got an oil passage in them. So if you get a machine like this and it sits so long that it seizes up, first thing to do is if you can't get a little oil to go into these, is check to make sure that these are clean through the center. Now, yeah, that knob out of the way. This is just a screw that was stuck into one of these holes. That actually was blocking an oiling location, so that's interesting. And then there's a little plastic oil cup in here to guide oil from this hole a little bit off to the side and down in there. So I'm gonna clean this up because it's got mildew growing on it. Now, this knob was turning this here. Set off. And then it says on and moves this section over. All right. I have to... Oh, that's why nothing is happening. So this slide right here is rusted and crusted, and there should be... This arm should be sliding on there. So... little sewing machine oil. Dab in there and just, there we go. There we are. Okay. So, when you discover a machine that's locked up like this, step one is always find the spots that look a little bit rusty and apply a little oil and then light pressure. I barely touched this to make sure that it freed up. Now, there we go. Now when I turn this knob, this section moves like it should. So, Yeah, so now the needle bar here only goes vertical, but when I hold this knob and adjust the stopper here to all the way wide, it goes all the way across in a proper zigzag. Now, if I switch this knob away from, I'm reading the top here, so it says off and there's an arrow. Switch this to off, it should, let's, take this knob off again. Should be in the off position for now. Should be. Well, it's a good question what that on-off switch does. I will have to use the internet to see if I can get a manual. Sears is usually pretty good about that. Oh, that has moved my needle bar to the center here. Switching this off moved the needle bar to the center, so my guess, oh yeah, the needle bar is only moving, so it's a center single stitch. Oh, they dropped a pin into this machine. Alright, now yeah. This is rusty. Just gonna drop a bit of oil down the middle and let it run out the outside. Now I have my needle out so I can turn this machine whichever direction I need to. Oh, that is not coming out. So, cool. I'm just going to take this entire bobbin winder assembly off. It looks like it's got 2 screws here holding it in place. So I'll be able to pull that out and loosen it, check the tire on it. I tend to not worry too much about the tires because they actually last a long time. And as long as they don't have a flat, they'll usually come back into service with a little bit of love, but alright. So inspecting that, there is a little flat on this tire, but I will. Oh, and there's a tension adjuster. Okay. So on this assembly here, if you have a machine, this is an automatic. Retracting bobbin winder. So this is the off, and then you put a bobbin on the spindle, like so, and then you push in. It enacts the machine, and it spins the bobbin up, and as the bobbin fills up, it pushes on this arm, and then the arm, when the bobbin is full, is supposed to trip. This screw here adjusts when that arm trips the bobbin to disengage. So I loosened it a lot, and now it disengages right when it's here. But if I tighten this all the way down, it should. So it's engaged, and now, see, I pull all the way out to here before it starts to disengage. So if you have a machine and you have the automatic bobbin winder and you're having an issue with it, when you open it up, there should be a screw inside to adjust that. Just, looks like that. So we'll see. It's a little bit dry, so if I pull it off, it's probably crack, but I would like to get this apart enough to, or I would like to soak this in something to help that get this cleaned up here, so we'll see what we decide. Anyhow, so that's automatic bobbin winders. They're another thing that's pretty common and easily identifiable. Yeah, this machine was definitely stored in a very wet environment. But now that I have this loose, I'm going to pop this spring off, because this is very rusty, and I'm going to do some rust treatment on that. I think I'm also going to, from the top here, let's see. I always find it kind of a pain to get these presser foot spring housings out. You can see this one's very rusty around there, so I'm probably going to get the Dremel and just clean that up without removing this whole thing. But for now, first steps first is get a little oil in here to make sure everything stays loose, and then sewing machine oil is really nice because it's very low residue, and it's that way to make sure that if you get it on clothes, it'll come out. Because of course you're sewing, and that means that, especially if you're using it to help loosen rust, it will do a pretty good job of loosening rust, but then it's also easy to clean up, relatively speaking. I will say there is something interesting about this machine. Oh, there's the passage. I was going to say, most of these machines I see, they just have a oil passage right here, top and center, but this one has, and they'll depend on you oiling through, because this is right here, they'll depend on you oiling down past the bobbin winder, but this one has a passage on the back here. That's what that little funnel in the lid was from. So, actually this little post has a slot in the top of it, so I'm going to need a finer screwdriver bit. Is this the finest one in this set? It is. Alright, I guess that's just staying put then. And I will clean that with my Dremel too when I get to it. Alright. Cool. In the interest of cleaning up more of the mildew on this machine, I'm going to pop the get the vacuum out and clean this up, but I'm going to get this door for the light off. That's got, oh, I need to get a long screwdriver to pop that out. Oh, maybe it's not worth taking off at this point. Alright, well, oh, nice. The last thing I need to do... Alright, last thing to do with this right now is I'm going to loosen the motor up, and get this old belt off here, because this belt is not in good shape. So definitely gonna have to replace that, and have a few local sewing machine shops, so I'll just go grab one. For when I reassemble this, but first things first, we'll make sure it's in decent order, and then last step will be that belt. So pull that off and check the wiring behind here. So, alright, the wiring here and into the machine looks good. When we open this, or when we first got this, the wiring on the pedal and outlet to the, and the plug is completely shot, so we definitely have to be prepared to replace that, which I will do, rewire that. But the nice thing about all these generic machines, or relatively generic machines, whatever they were branded as, Kenmore, White, because most of them were made by the one or two sewing machine factories set up in Japan after World War II. There are a lot of very, everything's the same except for the outside. They get a case, or a lot of them are the same machine, and then like this panel will be different. So almost everything is pretty easy to identify on these machines once you've seen one or two. So I'm going to open this up here. And the good news is that underneath here is in pretty good shape. There's my brush. I took the shuttle and the bobbin case out when I opened this up the first time. Just brush around in there to make sure it's clear. The challenging thing about these underside of these machines is they have oiling points. So when you work on them, and I think you're still in frame here, there's an oil point here and there and there, and you should take a moment every once in a while to open your machine and put one drop of oil into each of these spots, and just leave the machine tipped up. And I also will drop a bit of oil on the end of this rocker arm, these two rocker arms. Yeah. The one, let's see. This arm is the vertical movement on the foot, so it provides the up and down, because the flat of the machine is there. So vertical movement on the foot, and this arm down here, rocker arm, provides the horizontal movement. So anyhow, I'm gonna just put the drops of oil on this. Here, put these drops of oil in here. And then of course, the thing, like, I'm not worried about making a mess with this because I'm going to be cleaning this case out, but of course when you over oil this underneath here, all that oil is going to drip off the bottom of the machine into this case. So, but since I have to refurbish this case, I am not worried about it at all. So, oh yeah. The bottom of this machine has a casting mark. I believe that's a Janome casting mark. So, alright, well, got this opened up, started oiling a little bit so it'll stay loose, made sure that the zigzag feature was working. I'm going to call that success for now, and I'll probably make another video the next time I get a chance to work on this. Once I've got the machine kind of taken care of, I'm going to pull it out of this case and we'll do a work on this case. But first I want to make sure the machine is in good shape. So, because I still haven't checked to see if it is still timed properly for the shuttle and the needle bar. But if we find out that's out of order, I will show a brief thing about how to fix that, because like I said, I used to get all these kind of into decent shape for resale, and so I had to just sort of by the seat of my pants get anything I found working.